February 22nd, 2006, then I was really there. I felt really shocked. I said, what is going to happen? Because he is saying that India and Pakistan has all the right to decide the future of Kashmir. Then within less than 2 hours, if you go to the website of the White House, you will find all the details. Then within less than 2 hours, he called the Indian press to the White House because next day he is leaving for India. And these are the opening remarks of George W. Bush. And I will quote him correctly. He said, "Let me clarify what I said at the Asia Society." Then he said, "Let the whole world listen." Then he said, "We will accept that solution of Kashmir, which is acceptable not only to India and Pakistan, but also to the people of Kashmir." My point is that George W. Bush, he made a mistake, but he could have ignored it. But his foreign policy advisors from Pentagon, from CIA, from Foreign Office, we don't know from where, they told him, "No, Badshah Salamat, Your Excellency, you have to make a correction." So he made the correction. Then came President Obama. There's a very interesting story in the Time magazine. It is written by Joe Klein. Joe Klein wrote a story in the Time magazine. Then when President Obama was contesting the election, first election of the presidency, he was still the senator. He had a meeting with Joe Klein in Harlem. Harlem is a small area in New York City. Harlem. It's a black area, very important area. He said, "I had an interview with President Obama, although he was not the president that time. And Obama told me, if I am going to become the president, I am going to appoint President Clinton as a special envoy on Kashmir, because President Clinton is very friendly to India, so he can bring India and Pakistan together and he can resolve the issue of Kashmir." This is even before he became the president. Then 1 week before he became the president, on October 30th, 2008, he was on one of the most important channels in America. It is known as MSNBC. And the host of the program is Rachel Maddow. To be exact, it was 10 minutes past 9. If you go to Google, you will find all the things. 10 minutes past 9 in the evening. I was watching him in New York that time, live. And here goes the President Obama. He said, "I will facilitate an understanding between India and Pakistan to help resolve the issue of Kashmir." Again, I am telling you the foreign policy of America. I am not telling you whether they are implementing that foreign policy or not. Then when President Obama became the president, he visited New Delhi. In New Delhi, he made such an important statement, which is an inspiration for all the world leaders. He said on November 8, 2010, in New Delhi, right in front of then the Prime Minister of India, his name was Dr. Manmohan Singh. President Obama said, "Kashmir is a long-standing issue. I have talked to the Prime Minister that we have to resolve it. If I can be of any assistance, I am going to help you." Then President Obama said, "Because the resolution of Kashmir, it is in the interest of India and Pakistan. It is in the interest of region, and it is also in the interest of United States of America." Again, he did not do anything, but at least he articulated the foreign policy of America. I am sure all the distinguished intellectuals, they have heard the name of President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump said not once, not twice, he said 5 times. And let me quote him correctly. President Donald Trump said, "I will be honored to mediate between India and Pakistan to help resolve that hot, tender bugs of Kashmir." Again, he did not do a damn thing, but at least he articulated the foreign policy of America. I will give you one more example, that is Lloyd Austin. I'm sure you know Lloyd Austin today is the defense minister. So what I am saying that America has really come to the conclusion that Kashmir is not the integral part of India. Kashmir is not the issue of terrorism. Kashmir is not the issue of fundamentalism. Kashmir is basically an international issue which has been approved and sanctified by the Security Council, and the people of Kashmir have the right to decide the future of Kashmir. I will give you just two more examples other than America. Dr. Nelson Mandela. Dr. Nelson Mandela, not only as the president of South Africa, but as the chairman of NAM, as you know, Non-Aligned Movement. There was a conference of Non-Aligned Movement in Durban when Dr. Nelson Mandela was the president. And as a host, he gave the opening remark. Dr. Nelson Mandela, these are his opening remarks. We must be concerned to resolve the issue of Kashmir through peaceful negotiations. Then he said, we must lend all the strength we have for the resolution of Kashmir crisis. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, he said India and Pakistan must resolve the issue of Kashmir, not only for the sake of peace and security of South Asia, but rest of the world. And we have no words, the people of Kashmir have honestly no words to thank the president of Turkey, not only as the president of Turkey, but as the prime minister of Turkey. But I do not know whether you brothers and sisters know. When he was the mayor of Turkey, we had an international conference of American doctors. It is known as IMA, Islamic Medical Association of North America. We had a conference in Istanbul. I think it was 1994 or 1995. So he invited all of us to the dinner as the mayor of Istanbul, and his topic in 1994 or 1995, it was on the issue of Kashmir. So he did not say it only while having a dinner, but he said it, he raised it in the United Nations, not once, not twice, not thrice. What he said Kashmir issue has to be resolved under UN Charter and under applicable United Nations Security Council resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question here. Question is, it is not that there is no understanding of the world leaders. There is no understanding of America towards Kashmir. They have fully understood what is the issue of Kashmir. Then what is the problem? The problem is that they have yet to articulate their foreign policy into action. They have yet to articulate their foreign policy into tangible strategy. Otherwise, you tell me, ladies and gentlemen, when Donald Trump offered the office of mediation, we knew it. The people of Kashmir knew it, that India is going to reject it. We were never surprised that India said no when Donald Trump offered the office of mediation. But we were really, truly surprised that Donald Trump took the no of India as an answer. Ms. Michelle Bachelet, the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights, she has been the president of Chile for 10 years. She said, we must send a fact-finding mission to Kashmir. In her report, which was issued on July 8, 2019, 47-page report, we must send a fact-finding mission to Kashmir to find out what is going on there. India said no. Again, we were not surprised India said no. But Ms. Michelle Bachelet, the custodian of human rights, the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights, she took the no of India as an answer. So what needs to be done, ladies and gentlemen? Never ever underestimate the power of pen and power of intellect. Ustad Adnan Tanwardi, you know how many pens we have? We have 1.5 billion pens. The Muslim Ummah, they have 1.5 billion pens. We have to use it whether it's on social media, it is on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's on whatever shape and form of social media, not just for the case of Kashmir. The people of Rohingya, the children of Gaza, and likewise Yemen and other people, they are really looking towards the Muslim Ummah. So we have to use every single pen we have on social media just to hide the situation, because you do not really need to be a Palestinian to support the Palestinian cause. I really do not need to be from Myanmar to support our Rohingya Muslims, because our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what a beautiful advice he has given, that if there is one part of your body that is in pain, the whole body has to feel the pain. So if there's a pain on the streets of Rohingya, the brothers and sisters in Istanbul, I am right now in Sarajevo, we have to feel that pain. So second thing is intellect. What is intellect? Wallahi, if you really understand, if we are going, and we do not mean every Muslim, but those intellectuals, alhamdulillah, everybody who is right now on the Zoom, they are intellectuals. We must write to the newspapers, opinion editorials, give them the facts, what is going on the streets of Gaza, give them the facts, what is going on the streets of Rohingya. Brothers and sisters, it is not really that difficult. I am nobody, but my opinion editorials, my letters to the editor, they were published in New York Times and Washington Post and whatnot and Daily Guardian. So what I am saying, it seems to be very difficult, but once you keep it writing, and it is going to be published, inshallah, once it is going to be published.
Bir şey sorabilir miyim?
May I have a question for you, Professor
Yes, please,
Gulam?
please.
And I'm the kid of a family who immigrated from Bosnia. So you are in my city, in my country right now. I want to ask you this. Back in 2019, with the support of Western countries, why is India trying to do this with another way? Because as far as I understood, they are trying to put them into a fight, into a war, but there is this dispute of powers. And I know that India is staying back. But what was the basic reason of India for they to want to remove the independence? Can we sum up this presentation within 5 minutes? Thank you.
Yes, inshallah. So, you know, it is really ironic. As I told you, the foreign policy of America, every brother and sister who is listening to me, they say, mashallah, it is excellent. But let me tell you what happened. As our brother, Dr. Arhan, by the way, I am here in Sarajevo with my family. We have visited the Museum of Ali Izzatbo. We have visited the War Memorial, and we have visited the old and new city. We are really delighted to be here. But let me also tell you that when abrogation of Article 370 and 35A took place on August 5th, 2019, it did not take place out of nothing. You did not know it, and I did not know it, why it happened. But we have a Congressional Research Institute, which is funded by the Congress. They issued a report on August 15, 2019. Listen carefully. The abrogation of Article 370, 35A took place on August 5th. And the Congressional Research Institute says that 3 days earlier, the Foreign Minister of India, Jai Krishna, he met with the Foreign Minister of America, Pompeo, in Thailand. And they talk about this development. I am not saying it, Dr. Orhan. This is the Congressional Research Institute saying that the Foreign Minister of India sensitized the Pompeo about the latest development. What does that mean? That means this initiative, this development took place At least America was in know of that. But let me tell you, Dr. Orhan, you mentioned about Sarajevo. The Dayton Accord did not take place because Clinton wanted to do it. Dayton Accord took place because of Joe Biden. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden, who is the president right now. Joe Biden was the chairman of Foreign Relations Committee. Anybody who knows how American Congress works, chairman has all the powers. And he spoke in the Senate of America for 18 minutes. He said, what happened? Where are our moral values? Where are our ethical initiatives? Because Bosnia is burning and our children are going to ask us, what did you do about this Bosnia? So he is the one who took the initiative that we must intervene in Bosnia. And obviously, I do not need to go into details. What I am saying, if you and I and everybody, we will prick the conscience of Joe Biden. What happened to your conscience when you are saying that our values are moral values and moral values are highest values, which we obviously endorse? And those values were only in 1995. Why not in 2001? Why 2021? So what I am saying that someone has to prick the conscience of world leaders. Someone has to, you see, we are really so fortunate that we have at least one voice. And that voice, which is really being listened everywhere, whether they like it or not, that is our President Tayyip Erdogan. But we need to have a little bit more than that, so that they can really convince these world leaders that they have to come to the, because we have the international sanctity. And you tell me that there was a resolution in the European Parliament. There was a resolution even in the American Congress about the Rohingya Muslims, but practically they are not doing much. So that's why, in order to conclude, that the Muslims all over the world, we have to sensitize our members of parliament, because if every member of parliament is going to write to the world leaders and just shake their conscience, because I am sure that no matter how the person is behaving, he has that conscience, but someone has to prick that conscience like Joe Biden, that you were so morally world leader in 1995, and you have to behave as a moral leader in 2021. With that, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Teşekkür ederim Mr. Gulam. Umarım sizi kızdırmadım bu söylediklerim.
Thank you very much. I truly believe that I didn't make you angry with or sad. The president of our country, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is always saying that we want to have the Muslim ulema and ummah with us. Do you have any other questions for our professor?
From the audience, any other questions? Okay, thank you very much to you, and we expect you to see in Turkey as well. I want to see them as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We will continue with the second speaker. I think that the speaker is here. Muhammed Nazirhan, is he here? Yes, I'm here. The potential role of Islam economies in Pakistan-China corridor. This is a subject that I'm very curious about, because China economic corridor, the effect of Pakistan and the other countries cannot be seen in the Belt and Road part, and because the corridor goes through Uyghur part as well, and the corridor in the Silk Road going through the Silk Road, the ocean, the Indian Ocean, there will be a corridor. I will be very curious and excited to listen to your presentation. Cannot you open your camera? I can't see it.
Hala Gulam hocam var benim ekranımda.
Tamam hocam.
Muhammed Nazır hocam kameranız açık değil şu anda.
Mohammed Nasser, your camera is not on right now. It is not on. So I opened, but I don't know why this is happening. Should I re-enter? You can continue. If you do not have a presentation, you can continue.
Dikkat ederseniz sevinirim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd. First of all, we sincerely acknowledge that the only one worthy of all praise and worship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we send our greetings and salutations upon his messenger, Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who has been sent as a mercy for each and every particle of the universe. Blessings of Allah be upon him, his entire household, family, each and every companion. And secondly, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the head of the International Islamic Congress, who granted us this great opportunity, and all the participants, the doctors, the professors in the audience. May Allah bless all of us. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm going to present my humble words about China-Pakistan economic corridor and the potential role of Islamic finance in it. So in abstract, let me share my screen, sir, if I could. Hope you see my screen. Okay. So the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, is a major economic project aimed at building a wide motorway, the railway line from Xinjiang in northwestern China, western Pakistan. The project is looking forward to being and administer Gwadar port also. This project will not only shorten the distance of remittance of oil, gas, and other goods and to and from China, but also enable China to approach the Western world via Gwadar port, which is under construction on the Arabian Sea. According to the experts, CPEC project will serve as a cornerstone not only Pakistan-China bilateral economic and commercial relations, but also for the political relationship of both neighboring countries. In this regard, what would be the potential role of Islamic finance in this project? Or does Islamic finance have the capability to take an active part in this project? If the answer is yes, then how? Subsequently, how it will be better or at least distinguished from the conventional finance? To seek out the answer to this question is the prime concern and purpose of this paper. So then I quickly will move to the historical background and importance of this project. Background, historical outlines of CPEC and why China-Pakistan need to build it. Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, also known as One Belt, One Road, is amongst the largest projects in the world, as 124 countries have signed an agreement with China to be associated with it. And the project's worth range from 1 to 8 trillion and cover almost 30% of the world's GDP. And 62%, according to reports, 62% of the world's population will belong to it, and 75% of the world's energy resources are linked to this project. This project consists of 6 corridors. The detail of these corridors is under. Number 1, the China-Mongolia-Russia Economic Corridor, the China-Central Asia-Western Asia Economic Corridor, the China-Indonesia Peninsula Economic Corridor, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, and the new Eurasia Land Bridge Economic Corridor. And 6, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar Economic Corridor. The project could be potentially divided into 2 parts. The lands, economic belt, and other is the maritime Silk Route. But the Pakistan-China or China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is the safest and shortest one, and has a unique significance that made China calling it flagship project. Like many other countries, China is also receiving a big chunk of petroleum products from Gulf countries, as it imports 15.9% of crude oil from Saudi Arabia, which costs about $28.1 billion, and 10.9% from Iraq, 7.3% from Oman, and 5.5% from UAE. So where the shipping China passes through Malacca, one of the world's busiest passages. Strait of Malacca is key choke point for oil trade. In recent years, 85 to 90% of the total annual flow of petroleum has been transported through choke point. The Chinese for the first time has introduced the term State of Malacca dilemma in 2003, which probably denotes that the Chinese concern over the presence of the large number of troops of powerful countries in Malacca state and their political influence on Malacca's policies can create problems for China, especially in the unforeseen situation. So in unforeseen situation, shipment must travel 13,000 usually unfavorable circumstances. Rival countries could easily cut off China's supply line to shut down China. In addition, energy, for example, oil and gas shipment must travel 13,000 kilometers to reach China, which is itself is a long, expensive, and time-consuming process. With the completion and functionality of CPEC project and having a reliable alternative route, China will be relieved on of the expected hassle by powerful players, as energy will be remitted to China through 25 kilometers distance instead of 13,000 kilometers. It will enable China to save huge expenses and distance of 10,500 kilometers. Similarly, any shipment in case of emergency, which usually takes 45 days, will be reduced to 10 days period. And similarly, it will help China developing its western province. These provinces, especially the Muslim majority province of Xinjiang, are relatively underdeveloped, where periodically freedom movements arise, and China has been suppressing them very often in a very cruel way. Now, China believes that with the development of these areas, the people will prefer to live in a peace, enjoying the development rather than fighting. Another important point is that China and Pakistan through CPEC will have easy access to car countries like Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And Central Asian republics have abundance of energy, but due to their geographical locations, they cannot enjoy proper access to world's markets as they are landlocked countries. For example, a small strip of Afghanistan, namely Wahan, is written as some place in 13 kilometers only, separates Pakistan from Tajikistan. Once the road is built, Tajikistan would have a great opportunity to import its gas and oil to the world's market. At this junction, we should notice that under the One Belt, One Road initiatives, to get a leveraged political influence and maintain its active role in the polity of the region, China will simultaneously try to tame neighbor countries like Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Indonesia by investing money in establishing new developmental and commercial projects, as very emerging superpower has to do so. China has problems with its increasing influence in regional countries. For the past 2 decades, Pakistan faces 2 major problems. One, energy crisis and terrorism. Due to collective efforts of its government, security forces, religious scholars, and the Pakistan nation, Pakistan has succeeded in eradicating terrorism. But the energy crisis has not yet been overcome. This project will provide Pakistan an opportunity to get rid of this problem, as the major chunk of this project, $34 billion, has been allocated for energy projects, which potentially adds 16,500 megawatt to the country's national grid. And rest of amount is reserved for the infrastructure project. Number 2, although the country's previous government paid considerable attention to improving the infrastructure, yet a lot of work needs to be done. This project will help Pakistan to make its infrastructure better. Number 3, Pakistan is one of the countries with a large young population. The new generation is facing unemployment despite graduating from reputable educational institutions. To accommodate such a large number of young people, it is necessary to increase the national GDP up to at least 10 to 12%. The completion of CPEC project is expected to provide a good opportunity to Pakistan in this regard. So this was a brief about historical. So why should Pakistan choose Islamic finance? The question is that why should Pakistan choose Islamic finance? So in my opinion, CPEC is the largest and game-changing project in the history of Pakistan, which undoubtedly has the potential to change the entire region's fate, provided that it is completed on time and all necessary actions are precisely taken. It is also a fact that the larger a project is, the more significant are its pros and cons. Therefore, although CPEC could be a developmental milestone project for the country, but the slightest negligence can be detrimental for the whole nation also. Due to it, Pakistan has to work very keenly in this matter. And as we live in the age of propaganda and media war, a lot of disinformation is rapidly being spread by the rumors to draw a spoiled picture of such a big project in the eyes of people. It is done to separate media and concerns among the people, and consequently, the government would strip of public support. The best cure for such a problem is to restore public confidence and unwavering support. The government should preserve the right of access to accurate information. Being the largest project in history, CPEC faces the same propaganda war. Hence, people often express a fear that the CPEC would not be an East India company for Pakistan, as that was also a commercial company which came to United India in the form of commercial company and gradually expanded its influence by recruiting its own army, building logistics areas, and eventually occupies the whole country. So therefore, if CPEC is built on public-private partnership, and Islamic finance would have been given a chance to play its essential role therein, it would have been more democratic way, as Islamic finance likely does not represent any specific country or any specific region. Rather, it is as this would have given the investors from all over the world, including Pakistan, and the best opportunity of sound invest, as the competition would have resulted in the better work is at lower cost, and as well as it would have been an easier response to the concerns of people. According to these critics, the lack of public-private participation in CPEC project this concern, as the project monopolized either by Chinese-based companies or companies their identification is not clear. On the other hand, China's lease for 99 years due to non-repayment of loan after construction of Sri Lankan port is also presented in support of this agreement, although it's not correct, and the correct thing is, as Chinese embassy and other scholars have mentioned. So, but people who are claiming that they are representing this evidence as their supporting evidence. So, it also worth mentioning here that...
Kaan,
yes, sir.
5-6 dakikanız var, toparlayabilir miyiz?
Tamam hocam. So,
you have 5 to 6 minutes.
According to Pakistan CPEC authority, the project is based on public-private partnership, and so any company from all over the world, and including international financial institutions, IMF, World Bank, and Asian Development Banks are welcome to partake in this project, provided that meet the conditions of project. So, in the last, I would like to share my conclusions and recommendations due to the lack of time. This study has reached the following conclusions after investigating both the CPEC project and Islamic finance detail. CPEC is a game-changing project, not only for Pakistan and China, but for the entire region. The economic future of the entire region depends on it. So every effort should be made to complete it promptly and ensure its transparency, impartiality, and business image. Number 2, local Pakistani companies may also be allowed to participate in this project as much as possible, because it safeguards the interest of the people, flourishes local trade, and keep the rival power of critics away to have the opportunity to propaganda against it. Number 3, participation of private companies in the project should be done following the principles of Islamic finance as a Pakistan and Islamic country. Scholars belonging to various subjects, economics, business, social studies, political sciences, etc., should be encouraged to conduct research on CPEC project from different angles and write their master's and PhD's dissertations. Number 5, information regarding CPEC is available only in English on its official website. where most of Pakistani do not know English language. Therefore, the authorities should provide the necessary information in Urdu as well. So thank you so much. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Biz de teşekkür ederiz Mr. Khan. Şu not alabiliyorsanız.
We'd like to thank you, Mr. Khan. There are a few questions. There's a question, where is Turkey positioned in the project? I'd like to say two things. Within your speech, you talked that the IMF and the World Bank, I mean, they are the destructive institutions. They should be within the system, and I don't want to have the we shouldn't talk about IMF and World Bank. They shouldn't be in our Islamic countries. This is my perspective as an academician. I don't prefer them to be involved. There are two important areas. So one is the Gwadar port studies, and the other one is against the Kashmir, the Pakistan region. It's about the studies changing. However, Pakistan, because of Kashmir, do not come close to that. So about the One Belt Road, the port and the region, about the studies, what do you think of it? But I'll be very happy if you give short answers. Where is Turkey positioned here in this project? Thank you very much.
So far about Turkey, I'm not sure, and I wish Turkey also should participate in such a big project. And not only Turkey, all Muslim countries should participate in such a big, and even I wish that. And the second thing is also Islamic Development Bank, and also central banks, even, or big companies from Muslim countries, they are welcomed, and as government of Pakistan declared openly, they should participate. And as far as changing the status of Gilgit-Baltistan, hocam ben Gilgit-Baltistanlıyım, and I belong to Gilgit-Baltistan, and Silk Road starts from my region. So I think it won't be the case. And although people of Gilgit-Baltistan want to be, although they are affiliated with Pakistan, but they want to make their region a part of Pakistan or the province of Pakistan. But I think so far it's not possible, according due to UN resolutions and the disputed status of Jammu and Kashmir.
Peki, teşekkür ederim. Ama şu Birleşmiş Milletler'de dünya 5'ten büyüktür.
Okay, thank you. And in the United Nations, we shouldn't remember that the world is not bigger than 5. I don't think that the United Nations decisions are ethical. I've got to thank you.
Sound minds and sound güzel fikirli olan hocalara, so we get new energy, new courage from you. Thank you so much. And iyi ki varsınız. Allah razı olsun.
Very happy that you are there. God bless you. We'd like to thank you, and we wish you support from this work. Any the other participant here?
Değerli arkadaşlar, bir sonraki konuşmacımız buralarda mı? Ben göremedim.
Burada Muhammed İlyas Bey burada hocam. Burada hocam, duymuyor galiba.
Muhammed İlyas is here, professor.
Yes.
We are going to talk about the the presentation about the environment. We will listen to your presentation with joy, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, my issue is about the protection of the environment. Particularly, my propose is that how Muslim countries or the Muslim world can be able to form a policy, a common policy toward a common environmental policy in the Muslim world. So everyone well aware that the urgency of the climate change nowadays is a common concern of all humanity. Particularly, I think many people may follow the Conference of the Parties or COP26, which was organized in the Glasgow in Scotland early last month. My issue is that the a proposition or the urgency of the environmental issues must be taken seriously by Muslim countries. Let me share my screen. My topic is that the contribution of Islamic ethics on environmental crisis resolution of SDG or Sustainable Development Goals toward a common environmental policy in the Muslim world. One of the regions that hardest hit by climate change is the Middle East. There are several and abundant information that state that in many countries, particularly the Muslim country, have been highly affected from the climate change, particularly Kuwait, for example. In June 2021, Kuwait recorded a temperature of about 53.2 Celsius. Oman, UAE, and Saudi Arabia also recorded a very high temperature. Iraq, Iran also follow suit. The Middle East is warming at twice the global average, and by 2050 will be 4 degrees warmer as compared with the 1.5 degree mark that scientists have prescribed to save humanity. Many cities in Middle East may literally become uninhabitable before the end of the century. This is according to the German Max Planck Institute. Not only these countries, but also particularly the Malaysia nowadays. Brothers and sisters who are from Malaysia, may I convey my support today, the Kuala Lumpur, which experienced the hardest flooding within 20 years or 30 years something. Jakarta, for example, also the capital of the Indonesia, sink as 1.5 centimeters every year. So within 20 years, almost all of Jakarta will be sunk entirely. So that's why the Indonesian government evacuated or changed the capital city from Jakarta to Kalimantan. So not only countries that I mentioned, but also in China, Japan, and particularly the United States also suffer from extreme catastrophic of the environment effect. So the Muslim world has every right to take a leadership in conserving natural environment and protecting our planet Earth from climate change disaster. As most of the Muslim countries, except those of small number of rich Gulf countries, are poor, they are the ones who suffer most from environmental disruption. And nowadays, we know very well that poverty is related directly to the environment, to the climate change. Many wars and conflicts actually caused by environmental effect from the catastrophe. So why we are in Muslim world, I cannot be able to take a lead to protect environment, but to let the United Nations, which is comprised of the polluter, the industrial nation, which is one of the main polluter in the world, the European, the United States, the Russian, and nowadays they are, setting the regime of the environment protection. They are the one who destroy the environment and come to save the earth. So it is quite ironically, even though in the Muslim world there are many scholars who talking about the Islamic ethic for the protection of the environment, particularly such as those Professor Sayyid Hussein Nas, Professor Usman Bakar, Professor Ibrahim Osdemer, and many others. But it seems that the Muslim country haven't take this seriously. Maybe because of the many factors. In this slide, I would like to show that Islamic ethics toward environment, or what we call it eco-theology, have been well established in the scholarly circle. And many Quranic verses and the Sunnah. I just show you one of the Quranic verse, which is many people very well aware about this. Indeed, in the creation of heaven and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those who understanding, who remember Allah while standing or sitting or lying on their sides, and give thought to the creation of heaven and the earth, saying, "O Lord, you did not create this aimlessly. Exalted are you above such a thing." then protect us from the punishment of the fire. Of course, there are many verses in Quran, particularly as associated with the protection, with the when God Himself talking about Himself, He always talking about creations, so that we can be able to reflect on His creation. So when we're talking about His creation and we're talking about Tawheed, and usually in the curriculum in the Muslim country, when we're talking about Tawheed, we're talking only belief in one God, but we rarely are talking about the responsibility of God's creations as part and parcel of Tawheed. And this is one of the example that maybe we are not take environmental problem seriously. Or another concept in Muslim in Islamic tradition is a Khalifa, the concept of Khalifa, as man as a Khalifa on earth, which is come with Khalifa is amana, a responsibility and justice. I just show some concept which is underlying of the Islamic ethic on environment. My argument is that a environmental crisis or climate change crisis is a value crisis. Unless we are talking about value, the crisis cannot be able to really solve, particularly when we talking about the modern thought, which is derived from the Enlightenment and Industrial Revolution. Capitalism itself is the itself destroying the environment. Otherwise, unless we criticize or reconstruct it, we cannot be able to solve the crisis of the environment. And my arguments, and of course our scholars' argument is that we have to talking about the value, which is in Islam a rich value on environment protection. So my proposal is that the Muslim country must form a environmental policy in Muslim world, or what I call it the environmental regime, free from the dictate of industrial powers, who ironically themselves being the major polluters, but they are setting terms and conditions, enforcing weak countries to follow. This regime must be formed. Otherwise, the Muslim country will be dictated as other regime which is set up by the superpower. And my proposal is that the Republic of Turkey, with her great historical treasuries, her current achievement in cultural, technological, and military might, is suitable for assuming the leadership in bringing Muslim countries to form such a regime. I see no country that can be able to take a lead in this challenge. The UAE, for example, try to initiate this kind of activities, but I don't think UAE have a credential to be able to lead, because UAE itself, one of the big polluter in the world also, but not Turkey. So this is my proposal, and I think Turkey is suitable to take a lead in forming this policy. Thank you very much.
Biz de çok teşekkür ederiz. Ben küçük bir
We thank you very much. I will have a small contribution. As you know, the Islamic ethics is mostly based on the compassion and mercy and on the preservation of our heritage. And I think that the leadership movement of the females, of the woman, it is very important. And there are a lot of leadership movements of the woman in the Muslim world. Because they are raising their kids and children with mercy, with compassion. And I think that this is truly very important in order to convey those morals, those ethics for the future generation in order to preserve our world. I mean, it's not like nothing it is done. Of course, things are done. There are contests, you know, about the climate change. People are trying to do things. So I think that this is pretty much all. And I want to pass to our next speaker. He will be talking about the priorities of the changing foreign policies. And there are actually some things which I'm wondering about. And in terms of financing of Kanal Istanbul, we'll have some council members, and let's listen to our professor. Can everybody hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Good morning to all of you. I will be explaining the changing foreign policy priorities of Turkey. Professor, I will have a small annotation for you. We are really in a deep need of hearing different things than those provided on TV broadcast. Can you please tell us something differently? As it has been already told, Turkey has a very important geopolitical position, and we have undertook a very important role, both within the Muslim world, and this is the same in the 21st century. What is our duty? And I want to explain this in terms of foreign policies. And as you know, the international policy is a matter of power and governance. And what are the objectives of the foreign policies? We want to preserve and sustain the current social, political, and economical structure. We have both the human and the state items within this policy. At this point, the Turkish state since the establishment of the Ottoman Empire was dominating the entire Asia, and the Turkish communities who immigrated for Asia merged into this big empire who aimed to become a world state. So we can talk about the responsibility even before the establishment of the Republic. We are talking about reshaping, reconstruction of the world, and there are some concepts laid back in 91 during the Gulf Wars, etc., by the Western world. And we have the China, India, and other states who are pursuing a revisionist policy. We are talking about peace in our country and peace in the world concept, and about being objective. This is what Turkey is pursuing actually since the World War II. And this transformation is a very important one since the beginning of 21st century. This is a very important and extraordinary foreign policy trajectory and trajectory. And when we look at the abolition of the Soviet Unions, you can see a single pole to multiple pole transformation. And also we can see the change that it brought along since that date and up to Africa. And as our president, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is frequently talking about, we need to access those artificial borders and to expand even more. So what we can do as a country, because we are at a peripheral position, we can talk about a strategical partnership with America. And we see how our relations with the America are changing. And we are facing America which since 91 till 2003 tried to keep Turkey away from the Asia, especially this crisis which started with the Iraq movement. I thought Turkey wanted to stay neutral and objective, but you know, the issue with the dominance over the Bosphorus and over our national waters lead into this crisis and into attacks against Turkey. Today we have Greece and Cyprus agreement. Here the Ottoman Empire, in their alliance with Germany, in order to balance their foreign policy, we can see. I'm so sorry, but the broadcast is a little bit problematic. Here you can see the Kuvayi Milliye, the soul. Turkey didn't participate to the Second World War, and it stayed objective in order to protect the integrity of its lands. We are not arguing if this is something right or wrong. And because our military and economy wasn't ready to do that. But we are talking about General Leslie Groves, which was the USA Manhattan Project commander. And now today we have the nuclear weapons. Russians are doing the same. During the Cold War, Turkey pursued the policies in the Western directions. And as you know, we had the issues with Greece. And as Menderes said, here you can see our photographs from Korea. And we had a lot of agreements with NATO, and Turkey had against the Americans and against the military equipment placed in our country. We had some agreements. And here we can talk about two equations. One is the balance of Middle East powers during the Cold War period, and the other one is the victory in the East. And of course, we are talking about East Germany, Poland, and the atom bombs which were made in here, and talking that all of those countries are NATO members. And here you can see something from Dulles. He was the foreign policy minister of the America, and he was talking about the attack of the Russians to Turkey. So Turkey is targeted by the Russians. And the foreign policy was impacted on the military area, and within the Marshall Plan, Turkey received $352 million aid. Here you can see the modern air military equipment. Everything was modernized. And depending on this changing, Turkey became a very important nuclear basis. After the world politics in 16 and 18s, Turkey also has been impacted. And here you can see İsmet Pasha, and he says a new world is going to be established and Turkey will be a part of this new world. So this means that Turkey really experienced this competition during the Cold War, and there have been a lot of changes. And this change in the Turkish foreign policy, which started with the deceased Özal, was quickly changed toward the Middle Asia and to East Europe. While our relations with Europe continued, we also developed stronger relations with the Middle East countries. Here we tried to be near the Muslim communities in Bosnia and the other countries. However, if you look at the balance of the powers in the changing world, when we look at the old communist countries such as Romania and Bulgaristan, you can see their alignment. And we all know about the ships at the Black Sea of America. And as you already said, the Montreux Agreement is again a hot topic, and we have the Russian and Chinese coalition, and we know that it is more closer. So what happened after the first Iraq war? We had the aircraft factory, and we have the consultancy of defense industry. But today Iraq is disrupted, is divided, and 1.5 million Iraqi peoples have been killed. This instability led to a crisis in Iraq, and you can see the lack of the scarcity of the resources. So Turkish foreign policy is changing, is more centralized, and the change in the power balances of the world. You can see the position of Japan and competition in the Asia-Pacific region. After 11 September attacks, USA shot Afghanistan, and after that they drew back. As you already know, you can say that they are trying to dominate the region. And during the 2004 summit at the European Council, you can see the aim of the Turkey. Zero problems with the neighbors, started by Davutoğlu, was an initiative by Turkey, and it was locked down. Even if the initiatives of Turkey in the United Nations were instated, we can say that due to the policies adopted against Turkey, we couldn't succeed. And here we can see the enlargement of the NATO and EU. And also there are aims like Bulgaria and Romania and Ukraine. And you can see that the Turkey and NATO relationships have been affected. And I'm talking especially about the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. At this point, Russia increased their aerial pressures at the both seas. And when we look at the Middle East, you can see the three centers in here, the sharing of the cities, and as it is said, like an Armageddon. And I also can say that this is called as a battle, a fight of the religions, and we can see the change through the Islamophobia. Here we have the Palestinian and Israeli fight. We have the Shi'i-Sunni fight. And we can see that the Middle East policy of Turkey is providing the peace and stability. And on the contrary, with the new Ottoman movement, Turkey is facing this kind of propaganda. And the movement of Middle East of Turkey is not limited only by its border, but it should be extended. And the Middle East energy issue and CO2 and climate issues also increased. Another change is, unfortunately, as per the statement and a map published by the armed force, you can see the Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the other lands which are divided, and the new Churchill map. Of course, the Iraq operation led to that. And here we can see the hypothesis of the conflict of civilizations. Samuel Huntington emphasized the importance of the clash of civilizations. The area in green is a map which is wanted to be shared by the Russians and the Chinese states. And also in the Islamic geography, I don't think that this distribution is random. Here you can see the new US military bases which are located in the region. And there are initiatives to let Turkey out of the game. Academically talking, can we pose this question? The Arab Spring, can it be a revolution for the Muslim world, as our colleague in here told us? Can we redirect this movement in the world? having Western partners and working together, unfortunately didn't lead to any successful results. We can see here how Gaddafi was taken down. Another parameter for Turkey is with the geopolitical importance and energy pools of Turkey. Here we have the Baku, Ceyhan, and Tarab line. And when we look at the Middle Asia, we can see an area of 4 million kilometers and a population of 61 millions and 1 billion human power. And also after the competition between USA, UN and NATO after 11 September. A new Asia, we are talking about the Turkish republics, the India, also including Japan, and the foreign policy of Turkey should be advanced, and our president took new resolutions. However, our neighbor Russia has new military bases and they put them in Armenian and the Kyrgyzstan war back in 2008 and the attack on the region. And having the Russian ships at the Black Sea, it shows us that the issue is still in place. For the first time in the history, we can see the operations at the Black Sea with the Chinese and Russian ships. What is trying China to achieve here? Vladimir Putin said that the Russian Federation mentioned that they will make an investment more than 20 billions of dollars for the Akkuyu project. Here you can see the St. Petersburg discussion and the normalization. And Turkey is considering to purchase the Russian S-400 weapon system. However, when you look at the reality, in my opinion, as Trump mentioned, Russians made use of the Obama's mistake and they put military bases like A2AD equipment and warcrafts, and they are dominating the Mediterranean Sea over the 3 points. And as to our relations with the USA, especially during Biden, we have again a NATO meeting, and as our president mentioned at the NATO meeting, can Turkey take S-400 aircrafts? Because our 80 aircrafts will be modernized, but we still don't receive an answer from NATO. However, the most opinion difference between the two states, I think that it is because of Syria. And we know that USA has supported the terrorism organization like EPG and PKK during their attacks by providing to them guns and munition. As a result, Turkey is pursuing those guns, but America says that it is from their local partners and not from them. Here we have our immigration issues. We have 5 million Middle East Muslim immigrants in Turkey geography. And we know that the West doesn't want to take those immigrants. Is it possible for the European community to open a new page with us after the issues at the Aegean Sea and with the Greece? Can we talk about a balance with the European community in 2022? As our President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said, we see our future in the European community. Can we pursue this approach, or the parameters set during the March 18, 2016, can those two parameters be followed? Will we be able to receive any help from the EC? But here you can see the Greece issues, and you all know the munition and the arms which have been provided to them. You can see here 4 American tanks, the modern tanks and warcraft, and 12 warships which have been provided to Greece. So this cooperation between America and Greece is totally against us. Also, there are some aircrafts, military aircrafts, which are provided to Greece in order to provide their air superiority. We know that America is providing military training to Greece. And we know that there is a Greece army which can actually enter from the agency, the coast of Turkey. Here we have North Cyprus Republic picture. And we know that here is a policy against Turkey. And the excessive weaponizing of the Greece and Northern Cyprus. And everybody's talking that Athens is the 53rd garrison of American military bases. And we know that there are a lot of military crafts in the zone. So what is behind of this? What they are looking? What's the United States geopolitical energy policy initiatives? What they are trying to achieve in here? And in the meanwhile, they are trying to expand their projections up to Africa. As a result, the Turkey's strategic importance is not decreased, otherwise, in contrary, it is increased. And as our professor in here told us, we need to protect our pacing and our strategical infrastructures in order to have a strong foreign policy. And I think that this is our heritage, and our strategical priority should be protection and defense of Istanbul. Here you can see the neighbors of Turkey. We are in a peaceful environment and climate with all of our neighbors, but we shouldn't forget about the pressure of Turkey. But we know that we need a new economical initiatives with Iran and with the other neighbor countries. And I think that there are very sensitive strategic balances. You know what Mike Pence and Azerbaijan, and having this new corridor in here states that a new process may be initiated. And also we have the friends countries like Qatar and Egypt, and I hope that during the next week we'll see a very effective commercial relationship with those countries. But we as Turkey we are the 5 biggest country in the world who have a lot of foreign policy representatives and we have a very strong network in America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and the other regions. And we can see that we have a lot of supporters, and we can talking about a new world order in which Turkey is pursuing a multidimensional policy. And as our President, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, says, within such a reform, I don't know if we will see the United Nations, but we know that we have a lot of supporters. The Syrian issue is still continuing, but as a world state, the perception of Turkey will be reconstructed, redesigned, and starting from Caucasia up to all the seas, Black Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and Aegean Sea, will be able to cover the entire area in a just and balanced way. And I want to emphasize that Turkey won't waive its rights from the Mediterranean Sea.
I can ask other questions, please. Please. You talk about Pire Port, and there is something that has to be there that shouldn't be overlooked. There's China that's in Georgia that they're trying to make it together. The China trying to come up with China, and there is a luxury of China to use our waterways are free, and we have to look at the importance of this port and Canal Istanbul. And there is one another thing I'd like to mention. And in the past, there is a south-south and the north-north commerce, and this is something I believe very important. Now the commerce is between the west and east, and with the logistics and leaps that Turkey and strides Turkey have, it will be like a system out there, and I think that will be the case. What I'd like to ask you is that the United Kingdom has an explanation, and America is dealing with this, and the Middle East is there, and we won't give up on Middle East, and we will not leave Middle East. And there is I read an explanation that in the Middle East, could you please tell something? And the speaker is here. I'd like to talk about, and I'd like to. I'm curious about your opinions. I agree with you. And with China, the fact that we are getting together is a part. It could be in the Middle East and the Mediterranean, in the others places. And as a lawyer myself, with Adam Bey, we worked on this in Canal Istanbul. So it is 50 days now. And there is the Straits agreement. So when the Prime President was the Prime Minister, he made an explanation, and he said that we will make the bridge. He did this. We were going to make the square. He did. And the Canal Istanbul is there. The steps are there, but it requires finance. And in terms of the straits, and it is something inevitable, and sine qua non. Some people cannot understand it. And the Greece people, you know, they made a report because I called them as a giant hats, and I think that when they are friendly to Turkey, I'll be diplomatically respectful. And in Turkey, the axis of the world is between going to Asia Pacific to the east. This is how Turkey started this one. Therefore, Turkey between 2014, I agree with you, and it will be among the top 10 countries with the strides in the defense industry. And of course, there is a Turkish nation, and that disturbs the great powers, the United States of America. So I think that they cannot read the time. And of course, they can continue, you know, clash with China, but I don't think that will be enough with their powers, and the activities with the lands will be there. And without the Turkish world, the United States of America cannot win anymore. And we see that sometimes with the effect of certain countries that they object that they target the Islamic world, and this is a wrongful policy. And I agree with the policy of the United Kingdom. America retreats in the Iraq, and there is the Middle East dominance. And when we say conservative Americans, there will be the war of the religious. I've seen that in Jerusalem. They said that the Prophet Christ will come there in the Jerusalem, and with the Mecittepe, they have a belief that all the Jews will convert into Christianity, and so they think that any initiative for the Muslims is rightful. So 100 years ago, Turkey in the First World War, Turkey has to have this, and of course the United Kingdom ambassador is there, and Turkey isn't a threat for you. Is important as an aviation person. I believe that as America doesn't give with the Eurofighter, with the United Kingdom in the aviation, we have to strike the balance. And one other thing that with the new the German government, we have to work on our relations, and there is the tsunami wave there, and we have to come across to those. And last but not the least, I can tell that in there will be the agreements with Qatar and Mosul, and of course that they will think, and we see that there's a success of this in Libya, and the president of Turkey accepted the Libya pioneers, and Turkey will not give up on the Libya and Syria and the mission that is entrusted by Allah. Yes, there are some policies, but the important thing is to see the horizon, and beyond the horizon. I'd like to thank Adnan Pasha and Ersan Albay, Colonel Albay, and there are other speakers. I don't want to take things. And I believe that these speeches at this conference will have new works, and we will. I think that the way that Adnan Pasha opened is very important. Thank you very much. Respect from our side. Thank you very much. The first speaker is just joined us, and we have one another speaker, Ibrahim Rasul. It is about the Islamophobia and the struggle against Islamophobia. I hope that he will make his presentation short. And I think that he is here. Ibrahim Bey, are you here?
I am here with great apologies for electricity load shedding in South Africa that made me late, but I am here, alhamdulillah. Dr. Orhan, our distinguished moderator, my really respected fellow panelists, and the leadership of Assam. It is a great honor to speak to you from Cape Town, South Africa. I must say that listening to the last parts of the panels that have come, I think that as someone who lives on the periphery of the Muslim world and have been active on that periphery, whether in the United States, Europe, or Africa, there is a great requirement for the Muslim world to reposition itself geopolitically and globally to manage the multiple challenges that the Ummah faces. They are the dominant forces still of authoritarianism within the Muslim heartlands, with notable exceptions. And I think that your location in Turkey speaks of one. There's external residues and experiences of imperialism in which we've got to calculate what the superpowers are doing all the time, and particularly the United States with regard to its interests in the Muslim world. But I do think, and I'm very happy to come and speak on this, there is a periphery in which a minority, a collection of Muslim minorities who together make up 25% of the Ummah where we live, who have the experiences of prejudice, of discrimination that we have now found a name for called Islamophobia. And if the Muslim world were to be able successfully to reposition itself, then we have the possibility of once again enjoying global leadership through the hegemony of what I call the soft power of Islam. Because Islam historically was a purveyor of such soft power based on eternal values, such as the integration, the tawheed of justice, of the abiding mission of the Prophet, of mercy, of knowledge, and all of those kinds of elements of soft power. I do want to say that I come from a country, South Africa, in which Islam has been around for over 350 years. We were brought there as slaves and exiles from Indonesia, South Asia, and later from the rest of Africa. And they were brought to Cape Town as slaves and as political exiles, where they were discriminated against both as non-whites or blacks, as well as Muslims. In that case, Christianity was seen as the religion of the oppressor, the religion of those who took slaves, the religion of those who repressed Muslims. And therefore, even non-Muslim slaves who came to Cape Town integrated and assimilated into this Muslim identity, this Malay identity that we have here in Cape Town. I always tell people in other Muslim minority communities that if you want to understand what Islamophobia may be, then you must understand what it means to have grown up in Cape Town under colonialism, so big that one of the leaders, Tuan Guru or Qadi Abdul Salam of the Muslim community here, described Cape Town in one of his writings as Darul La'na, the accursed abode, the place that is cursed because of the hostility and hatred and repression of Muslims, where Muslims were not allowed to practice their religion in public on pain of execution, dispossession, and imprisonment. That was the Islamophobia that gave rise to the Muslim community today. And the fact that we are here today still speaks about the resilience of that Muslim community. Today, in post-apartheid South Africa, after Nelson Mandela's release from prison, one would never say that Muslims are a 1.5% minority in South Africa because of the variety, the strength of Muslims in the boardrooms, on the playing fields, where we even had captaincy of the national cricket team, in the political space, the cabinet. I myself had been the governor of the second biggest economic province in South Africa. I was South Africa's ambassador to Washington, not because of me, but for the respect that Islam enjoys because of its role in the anti-apartheid struggle and the expertise it brought. And so what I do is to contrast what happened under colonial conditions and what happened after the presidency of Nelson Mandela in South Africa, in which our Bill of Rights sees all religions as equal, and where we have a secular state, but not a state of secularism, of laïcité, as, for example, was the case and may continue to be the case in parts of Turkey, even up till today. So today, globally, this challenge of Islamophobia, in which, as I said, in the minority countries, the Ummah constitutes 25% of the global population of Muslims. In the West and in sub-Saharan Africa, or particularly in Southern Africa, we are small populations of Muslims, as we are in Europe, the United States, and Southern Africa. But in the East, we have large minorities of Muslims, such as we are experiencing in India, in China, and other places like that. And therefore, I think we've got to understand how, even now today, whereas Islamophobia was largely reported on in the United States, in Europe, in France, etc. Now today, making headlines is the plight of Muslim minorities in places like India under Modi, in places like Myanmar, and the plight of the Rohingya, in places like China, and the plight of the Uyghur Muslims who are there. And so suddenly, many of the Muslim minorities across the world, whether large minorities or small minorities, are facing this pressure of Islamophobia. And it's part of what we need to unravel as part of the overall geopolitical repositioning of the Ummah, if we are going to bring peace to the soul of the Muslim community, bring inclusion in the heartlands, bring acceptance and integration on the periphery of the Muslim world. And particularly this wave of Islamophobia that we have experienced had been given enormous impetus after 9/11, and then particularly the war on terror, which demonized Muslims across the world, majorities and minorities. And therefore, what we had seen was a change from Islamophobia as being a set of personal prejudices and attitudes. And so Islamophobia was just the laser-pointed weapon of choice against. And therefore, Muslims suffered. If they were foreign, they suffered xenophobia. If they were women, they suffered misogyny. If they were black, they suffered racism. And because they were Muslim, they also suffered this apartheid, this Islamophobia that I spoke about, where Islam, in policy terms, was declared a false faith. And therefore, Muslim marriages were never recognized. When you registered your child as the outcome of a Muslim marriage in South Africa, you had to register the child as illegitimate. That was the extent of apartheid in South Africa. And therefore, I think that what we need to understand is that we need to deal with this phenomenon in particularly the West, but also in the large majorities in the East. And we needed to understand in South Africa, like we must understand globally on the periphery, what are the options of coexistence that we are striving towards? What outcome do we want? And so the outcome is either isolation, where we are confined to our compounds, assimilation, as in France, where we are required to drop our religious, our cultural, our linguistic, cuisine identities and assimilate into being French, or we can choose in South Africa where we have chosen and constitutionally inscribed the coexistence of being one of integration, in which our integrity is respected as Muslims, and Muslims respect the national integrity to be free, democratic, and rights-orientated in South Africa. And so we need to also understand how after 9/11, the geopolitical situation has inscribed Islamophobia by infantilizing Muslims, and hence, for example, allowing the counter-revolutions in the Arab Spring countries. And so, for example, it is said that we can extract our resources from those Muslim countries, oil, gas, and others, but we can't trust them with our values of inclusion, of human rights, and of freedom. And so let's allow the coup d'etats and the counter-revolutions to snuff out the attempts at inscribing values which are not only Western, but have their roots in the maqasid al-sharia, the intents and the objectives of Islamic law. And so those are the very important things. And the irony is that the more you deny freedom to Muslims in their heartlands, the more you extract their wealth and create inequality between elites and the streets. The more you create conflict, and the more conflict you create, the more you accelerate the migration patterns of ordinary, war-weary, and poverty-stricken Muslims to the West, and the more you must make sure that you preserve the West from the emergence of other cultures, other religions, and so forth. I want to end by saying that the first important lesson from South Africa is that when you are faced with the choices of being perpetual victims or being agents of change, whether minority or majority, always choose agency. Victimhood just deepens your inability to not act on your context. And therefore, South African Muslims throughout the 350 years have always chosen agency to fight against the conditions, to defy the conditions, to be resilient in the face of those traditions, to join the liberation struggle, to become leaders of the liberation struggle, to make sacrifices in the cause of liberation, not only for Muslims, but for the whole oppressed mass of Black South Africans in there. Secondly, if you have a choice between fighting only Islamophobia or fighting the whole family of bigotries, especially racism, choose to fight all bigotries, because the imperative for justice in Islam is an imperative that knows no boundaries. The third one is, do you fight alone or do you fight in combination with others? And from that, we have learned, for example, the lessons of the Khilful Fudul, the coalition of virtue. And we worked out that where we share values with other communities, we enter into alliances. Where we share objectives with other communities, we enter into coalitions. And where we share projects with other Muslims, with other communities, we enter into the politics of the front. And therefore, too many of us stand alone, stand separate, and are afraid to enter into alliances, coalition, and fronts with other people, such as the Black Lives Matter, such as some women's movements, such as others who also face oppression. I want to say in my last bit that Islam has this unique ability of being hegemonic as it was before, but we can be hegemonic again through the deployment of soft power. We don't always have the hard power to oppose the United States, to oppose any other power in the world, because they have spent their budget on nuclear weapons. They have spent their budget on militaries that are enormous, and they hold the key to the latest and most superior weaponry that they are capable of. But what has made the Muslim Ummah successful globally has been the deployment of its soft power, the superiority of its belief system, the ability to translate those beliefs into cultural forms, the ability to discover algorithms, the ability to explore the heavens and space, the ability to lay down the canons of medicine. And it's our most important ingredient of soft power, knowledge, that we have ceded to only a few amongst us who are only your jurisprudence based, rather than the full array of knowledge that is there. And so, my respected brothers and sisters, I end by exhorting us to add the phenomenon of the Muslim experience in the periphery of Islamophobia, and to ensure that that periphery becomes a vibrant part of the Ummah, but that they need to be supported in the fight against this phenomenon of Islamophobia that also is there. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you very much.
Doktor Russo, biz de teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ibrahim Resul. I would like to make a criticism and certain contributions. 9/11, as you know, is a turning point in terms of the Islamophobia. It's a turning point because the Islamophobia increased after 9/11. Regarding to Africa, I would like to make a couple of comments. After the mosque attack in New Zealand, for example, there were many demonstrations, and South Africa, in terms of its fight against the xenophobia, has initiated its national action plan. And there is only one thing that I am not agreeing with you. If I understand you right, you have spoken about the homosexuality as well, and Islam rejects and condemns homosexuality as well. So I don't think that speaking about homosexuality and fighting together with them is not the right way. If you accept me, I would like to make a criticism. Could you please elaborate on that topic about the homosexuality issue? I don't, want to discuss this matter. I don't think that because the homosexuality is rejected and condemned in Islam. What would you like to say about it?
No, thank you very much. I think I mentioned discrimination against all people who are different, and mentioned the LGBTI community as one of that suffered enormously under apartheid. It's different to making a case for it. But what we have learned in South Africa is that when you open the door of discrimination to one group that you may detest and disagree with, you give that same permission to a government who tomorrow loves that community and hates Muslims. You give the same tools of discrimination and oppression to that same government. And so at the end of the day, what we have been able to say in South Africa is that while we do not agree with it, if we have the freedom to speak against it and advise against it, then we should not be in the forefront of necessarily lead.
Yes, please, dear Professor.
I hope we try to understanding the changing identity and picture. Who are the common identity, the shifting from the communism to Islamophobia? Your mention is very critical. Not only the Christianity and also all the religious issues is very critical. Why today we did a great plan until the 30 years at the beginning of the 9/11 or before it, they planned and using Islamic terrorism phenomena. This is very critical and very dangerous. We see in the neighboring today in PKK and other terrorist organizations. However, today from the European and even now in Afghanistan, in Africa also, they don't apply the democratic human rights. As I mentioned before, they say they are, Professor Ibrahim is insisting on the Muslim people is autocratic and they don't understand the principles of human rights and democratic principles and Western values. However, this is not reflecting the reality, and they push the stability and peace to ethnic and religious conflicts to trigger on the global geopolitical dimension. When we're looking from the young people in European and other Western people, every day Muslim is killing each other. This is the very bad picture. Now another idea is what can we do, and are you ready for the counter phenomena? This is very critical in academical and international perspective. Secondly, what is our proposal in equality, freedom, and justice in the human the community? Secondly, what is the media? I hope we have the one very important conference, but we don't have enough support by the media. What is we need the wake up time. That's okay, and of course the enemy can do very bad plan for us, as I mentioned to you. And what is your plan? To using the technology and science, information, and also action all together. Professor Ibrahim insists on about it without the separation to each other. And my message is to give the new messages to the all Muslim people. We must act all together. Number one rule is this, and Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam is ordered to us in also Janab Allah Ta'ala telling us, you have to act all together. Another idea, how can we use, no fighting idea. We use the soft power and bringing new models, new ideas, also discovering our knowledge under the respect, the cultural brotherhood, and then to live like this, to love each other since as I mentioned to Yunus Emre, bunu Türkçe söyleyeceğim. Seveceksin yaratılanı yaratandan.
So you should love the one for the sake of the created, as the Yunus Emre says.
The principles. I hope we cannot go ahead in the Islamophobia propaganda. This is very critical issue. I hope that thanks to the Professor Ibrahim. Teşekkür ederim Sayın Başkan. Yani burada yeni bir...
Thank you very much. So with a new order, I do believe we should stand against the Islamophobia with a new discourse, and we shouldn't be, angry with the enemy, because enemy can do anything they like. We should start loving each other. So we should show respect to each other. Only after then we can give this big fight, which will end in glory, I guess. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear professor. So we have come to the end of our first session, but Mr. Ensar actually kindly requested me from speaking about it. The strategic importance of Kanal Istanbul project. We are working on this project with 15 people. We have the environment engineers, architects, and the map experts, and I am working on this project for financial matters. As you know, within the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, a DG has been established. We have been working on this project for quite a long time. And after, 5 different routes are being assessed, this route has been defined. And 78% of the route is filled with water, and $15 billion will be the financial cost. So it is not like $100 billion, as it is exaggerated a lot. the government will be undertaking the financial burden. China is putting a lot of pressure in order to receive the operation of this project, but we will not, accept it, because at the end of the day, we will make the money out of it. And we are expecting $11 billion of an annual income, and especially Middle East, Africa, Europe will be benefiting from it. The Piraeus port, as you know, is very important because it is next to the Corinth Channel, and you can easily go all the way to the Adriatic Sea. So strategically speaking, I mean, it's a very important project. France right now is trying to connect the Manch Sea with the Mediterranean in order to bypass Gibraltar. With its Kiel channel, Germany is trying to export on the Tuna River. And as we speak about the Black Sea, the internal transportation from the Volga River is really intensifying. So the Silk Road will be enabling the railway transportation, and the logistics are becoming very expensive. So as I said at the beginning of my speech, the Turkey is a very important center for customs. And at the same time, logistical centers to be opened in the Marmara Sea will be highly important. According to our calculations and assessments, I believe that we will receive approximately $11 billion of an annual income. A Montreux Treaty, I don't want to speak about it. I mean, most of the time IR and the Polsci experts are speaking about it. But the longer the waiting period is, as you know, the costs are increasing. So you have to come up with an alternative route for this project. And if you can provide the financial cost of this project, of course, it will provide a huge benefit. And I do believe this will be one of the ways to bypass the Montreux Treaty. As you know, there is a huge and intense traffic in the Bosphorus. I mean, it is reaching to the level of 750,000 people of passengers on a daily basis. And it is also bringing along many difficulties and jeopardies. And when we think about the passage of big ships, the Istanbul is stuck inside the Bosphorus, so we can easily understand how big the tragedy could be. This is why this project is strategically very important. So within the vision of stronger Turkey, with its financial centers, this area will be very special. I don't want to, make analogies, but Istanbul will be turning into a Singapore or Hong Kong type of a financial center. I do believe this project will be very instrumental. Together and in line with the urban transformation, those areas hopefully will be renewed as well, because there are not a huge level of settlements in the area. We see it. But Canal Istanbul will be very instrumental, especially for the trade and to the Black Sea area, to the Middle East. And I do believe that this is a very visionary project for the future. I can present you a crazy project as well. I am concluding right now. Maybe some people thought about it. We can connect Kızılırmak and Yeşilırmak and open a new channel to the Middle East. This is my crazy project, if you accept. Yes, please, Professor Mesut, I do believe you have to say something. Your mic is off, Professor. Well, there is one thing that everything is afraid of. People are afraid whether the warships will pass over there or not, but they are covered under the same status. The hegemonic right of the Turkey will not be changing because we own those geographies. And at the end of the day, it's not going to be an island, because if you want to have an island, both sides should be filled with water. So this is geopolitically very important. Third, in the face of a crisis, the Montreux Treaty is still valid in the face of a war, so we shouldn't be deceived by the propaganda. So as an ex-officer in the Turkish army, what I would like to say that this channel will really ease the situation in Turkey. And the ones who would like to create some troubles are making use of the Dede Ağaç case. But before 1453, we have conquered Çanakkale, and then Fatih conquered the Istanbul. And this city was bestowed to us, and no one can ever take the Bosphorus from us. Can I ask a question to Mr. Mesut? Could you please introduce yourself as well? My name is Ensar Nishancı, Professor Dr. Ensar Nishancı. First of all, thank you so much for those beautiful presentations, Mr. Ayhan, Mr. Mesut, and I would like to thank other speakers as well. I have listened to your speech with great excitement, dear Professor. But there is one question that I would like to ask. I am also an IR professor. And what is your question, dear Professor? Well, Mr. Mesut, I will be speaking with the international relations terminology. The United States of America is the superpower, and it is losing its superpowerness, and we are paying the price because everyone sees that Turkey will be a key country in the future's world. As the superpowers are falling, they create problems. So at the epicenter of all the problems that we are facing in the Middle East, I do believe is due to the fact that the Turkey is becoming at the epicenter of the international relations, and America is concerned with that. So they are not actually indirectly fighting with us anymore. But there is one more problem in which I would like to learn your opinion. All right, we are paying the price and shouldering the burden of the falling of America as a superpower. But on the other hand, China is a candidate to become a superpower. But we have benefited from the economic opportunities of China, maybe, but we didn't face with its political challenges up until now. So if we think of Turkey as a balancing point between China and the United States of America, then I might have certain concerns. So what I would like to say is that Turkey should follow a balancing foreign policy, otherwise Turkey will not be able to survive in those conflicting environments. As we are standing against the America, what are we going to do in order to balance the Chinese power? I totally agree with what you say, dear Professor. It's a wonderful question since you are dealing with those issues. The rise and fall of great powers is a very important book, as you know, but he is taken Ibn Khaldun as an inspiration for himself. And he is making an analogy saying that it is just like an extinguished candle. And the America is just like a candle ready to be extinguished. So when we think about the leadership of Turkey in the Islamic world, Turkey should follow a balancing foreign policy just like Abdul Hamid did. And UK has initiated the Brexit process. That's why UK is balancing Russia and sending a warship to the Black Sea region. That's why Turkey should cooperate in that regard with UK. And Germany will be the second pillar, but unfortunately, we will not be on good terms with France whatsoever. Whenever we are strong, then France will seek our alliance, just like in the times of the Suleiman the Magnificent. So there is one hypothesis that I do really support. Maybe you will agree with me or not. Within such parameters, as a professor, what I would like to say is that educated manpower, how many do you have? Turkey has 28 million students and 28 million youngsters we have, and 1.5 million of them are the students, and they are high quality students. This educated manpower should be benefited from, and we are also, just like Fatih did, we are employing foreign engineers as well. So a smart commander is the one who is able to use the mind of the others, as we have benefited from the Hungarian cannon master Orban, as we have constructed the cannons to take down the Istanbul. We will do the same. So in the defense industry, Turkey developed hypersonic weapons, and let's see how they are going to challenge us. And the nuclear powers, the nukes, came to an end. If we are conventionally strong, we can balance all those superpowers. And God bestowed us such a geopolitical region from which we should take inspiration. So first and foremost, in the face of this psychological power, we should protect our self-confidence, and we should work and accomplish. As we do this, of course, we will take into consideration the balance of power.
Çok açtık.
Evet,
Ben
evet. Dayak yemeden
kendi
başkandan
adıma
kaçalım.
sürçülisan ettiysem affola.
So I'm so sorry. I needed to interrupt you, but I'll have Professor Dr. Jakub. He's going to moderate the next session. He's good on that, actually. And also, I want Mr. Azam to say something. Thank you very much. And I hope that we'll be able to be together again.
Ben katılımcılarımızın ve izleyicilerimizin ilgi edinmesi için İbrahim Resul hocamızın
And I want to talk about the South Africa. 80% of the population is Christian, 1.5 are Muslims, and 15% are belonging to other religions, or they are non-religious. And as Professor Ibrahim and Professor Ayhan told, the homosexuality issue is rather based on discrimination. I just wanted to emphasize this. Thank you. Professor Jakub, we are listening to you. Thank you, Professor Aydın. It was very nice to hear Professor Mesut. I think that we have the second session. First of all, I want to welcome all the participants. We'll be talking about foreign policy strategies of African Confederation, and I truly believe that this Assam Congress will be very auspicious for all the participants. And there are a lot of topics around the Islamic world, and I want to extend my greetings to everybody and to the President of Board of Directors of Assam and to other stakeholders. It was very pleasurable and enjoyable, and I see that we have a lot of common ground in here, and our mutual aim is to tackle with the main problems in the Islamic world, and to look for the solutions which can be implemented. In my session, I saw that I have 5 speakers, and I have Professor Ansar, and I benefit a lot from his opinion and also from his political identity on Istanbul. He will be talking about that. And not within a Turkish political perspective, but within the Islamic world perspective, and having Istanbul as the epicenter. We'll be talking about a new role of the city. And we'll have Professor Erol Demir. He'll be talking about the Islamic geography of Turkey and also about the chemical war weapons. Also, we'll be talking about new factors changing in Middle East and about the new actors and about the Sultan Vakar. We'll be talking about foreign policy of Pakistan and the Muslim world. He'll be sharing his knowledge and experiences with us. And lastly, we have Ahmet Avduzelli, and he will be talking about the period from 16 to up to the start of the 20s. I know that we are moving like pretty much fast, and we have allotted like only for 15 minutes speaking a period for each participant. So I don't want to lose more time. I want to correct you, Professor Vakar. If Professor Ansar will allow him, Professor Vakar wants to take his place. Okay, let's have him first. He will be talking about the Pakistan foreign policy and Muslim world.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello.
Evet, sesiniz gayet net geliyor. Buyurun.
Yes, Professor Vakar, we can hear you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today my topic is about Pakistan foreign policy and the Muslim world. So as we know that Pakistan come in existence in 1947, 14th August 1947. As a subcontinent, in the subcontinent, the Muslims are ruling from almost 1,000 years. Till 1857, Ghaznavi, Babur, and other Muslim empires was ruling the subcontinent. Nowadays, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and some part of Afghanistan. Pakistan is basically the continuities of that Muslim emperors. As we know that Pakistan is an Islamic republic country, and Islam is its ideological foundations. It's come into being on the basis of two-nation theory. Therefore, it is called the fort of Islam. Pakistan is the only atomic power in the Islamic world. This is why it has an eminent positions amongst the nations of the world. Pakistan not only plays an important role to resolve the controversies of Islamic countries, but also has a significant character to solve the problems of the nations of the world. Pakistan has religious, political, economic, and social relations with Muslim countries. In this regard, the reawakening of the Islamic Conference, Organization of Islamic Countries, is particularly remarkable. Pakistan is now striving for mutual interest of the Islamic world, for promoting the trade and economical relations with Central Asian states and keeping in view the current situation of Afghanistan. Realistic policies are being acted upon for reconstruction of the basic structure in Afghanistan. Two-sided international attempts got courage from this. If Pakistan becomes successful for creating unity amongst the Islamic nations, the Muslim world will get an important place at international level. As we know that the vast recent circle from Indonesia, Morocco consists of Muslim countries, or Muslim world. The political, geographical, and military importance of this region can be conjectured with the fact that 4 continents, that is, setting aside America and the others like Asia, Africa, Europe, and Australia, land and air paths cannot connect with each other without passing through this. The narrow lines of Mediterranean Sea and the oceans of Africa, and Asia are situated in Islamic world. And they are like orta for international trade. Islamic world suppress and close this orta. If they wish, they can make the international economical life realized. Every fourth person is Muslim in the world. There are more than 50 independent Muslim countries. They are blessed with agriculture and mineral wealth. The Muslim world is the monopoly of petrol and oil reserves. Yet the Muslim world has economical contradiction. Some Muslim countries are very rich and some are spending their lives in very miserable circumstances. The Muslim world is not independent in the matter of food. It causes defective planning, deficit and religions. There is no deficiency of mental poverty in the Muslim world. They spend 0.5% of total gross domestic product on education. This is one scientist in every 1 million people. The trade of Muslim world is $100 billion, and the trade of Islamic brother countries is $14 billion. Armed forces are huge in number. The response cannot be given to the aggression in Kashmir and Chechnya, in others, Libya, Syria, and other countries. The greatest disease of the Muslim world is lack of unity. The institutions and agencies are not strong in Muslim countries because of effective planning. Efforts for revival and implementation of Islam are being made in several Muslim countries. A point of moderation is being searched between the necessities of past and the need of present. The movement for implementation of Islam revolution is getting intensity. All terms of interpretation, illustration, Islamic idea, Islamic methodology of deciding our self-opinion on the basis of Quran and the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Thoughts, norms, modernism, and progressiveness are revived. The future is in the hand of people who know to get off being down with the burden of the past. The wish to live in the future is bigger than the wish to live in the past. The relations of Pakistan with some important Islamic countries of Islamic world are given below, through which we can understand their political, social, economic, and military operations and progress. First, as a Muslim country, is Saudi Arabia. How is the relationship of Pakistan with the Saudi Arabia? So Saudi Arabia is not only the important country of the Middle East, but is also an important country of the Islamic world. This country is blessed with oil, gas, and other minerals. Pakistan has very close relations with Saudi Arabia. Finally, and firstly, because the two holy places, Haramain Sharifain, are situated in Saudi Arabia. Pakistani Muslims have very deep care for this region and the people there. So secondly, both the countries have a key place of unity between the Islamic countries in their foreign policies. The relationship between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are exemplary since their beginning, particularly in the period of Shah Faisal, and the relations between the Pakistan and Saudi Arabia were ideal. Now we are coming to Turkey. Turkey is situated in 97% in Europe and 3% in Asia. Turkey had the caliphate of Muslim nation, and Pakistan and Turkey did an agreement with each other. So these things, they bring us together much. And Pakistan and Turkey support each other on the problems of Kashmir and Cyprus. There's other agreements between Pakistan, Turkey, and Iran in 1964, but after this, it was like this is the ECO, Central Asia and Afghanistan are also in part of that agreements. The other Balkan countries in Palestine, Azerbaijan, and Bosnia and Cyprus, and atomic energy was also discussed in that ECO. Different kind of agreements, for example, agreement related to culture, technology, trade and communication, defense, economy, education and sciences were done between Pakistan and Turkey. The misunderstanding between Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Turkey was more because of the efforts of the heads of these countries. As Afghanistan is the neighbor, the relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan, as Afghanistan is the neighbor Islamic country of Pakistan, the relations between both the countries were not pleasant since the beginning. Afghanistan talked against the inclusion of Pakistan in the United Nations, and there is a controversy of boundaries between Pakistan and Afghanistan, which is the Durand line, and so this is the basic problems that come from 1947. So after Pakistan come into being, Afghanistan went against this agreement and demanded the regions from the seashore. So these are the problems that we have from the start with as a neighbor country. Pakistan has allowed Afghanistan to use its sea on the very easy terms also. Afghanistan is showing some other things that we have from the history. We have some the border issues in these things. After that, also as the Soviet Union take on Afghanistan, and the problem starts. So this was only one country, Pakistan, that they helped Afghanistan. Pakistan helped its Muslim brothers in every incident and tried to solve the problem as soon as possible. Because of this effort, an agreement was executed on 14th April 1988 at Geneva, on which the representatives of Russia, America, Afghanistan, and Pakistan signed. Because of this agreement, the Russian army had leave Afghanistan, and Pakistan efforts was admirable in Geneva agreement, because of which the Russian army had left Afghanistan after 9 years without accomplishment of its objective. An agreement was executed in Islamabad, the revival of political stability in Afghanistan, in which Burhanuddin was appointed as president and Gulbuddin was the prime minister from the past. So these are the things that the ties Pakistan and Afghanistan have as a brother country and as a neighbor country with each other. After that, is after 9/11, United States attack on Afghanistan, 2021. Pakistan also play very crucial role to bring peace in Afghanistan. Now is also on 19th of December, there's a OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries Foreign Minister Conference for Afghanistan, because there is a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. So Pakistan every time is his stand with Afghanistan. Now we are coming to another neighbor country about the relationships of Pakistan with Iran. So Iran is near to Pakistan and its neighbor. It's situated in southwest of Pakistan. From 1958, agreements of boundaries were executed between both the countries. So as we look also this how 1965, 1971 wars between India and Pakistan, Iran openly helped Pakistan. Likewise, Pakistan played a key role to remove animosity during war between Iraq and Iran. When Pakistan responded with an atomic experiment, Iran supported the Pakistani point of view and helped Pakistan a lot in the critical time. So this is the relationship between Iran and Pakistan with each other. Iranian president and the others visited to Pakistan, and many cooperation agreements were signed, including defense. As Bangladesh is in the South Asian country, Islamic Republic of Pakistan came into being on 14th August 1947 in great leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, with efforts of Indian Muslims on the map of the world. At that time, Pakistan has two parts, East Pakistan and West Pakistan. There was a distance 1600 kilometers between both of them is a result of depressing historical incident of the separation of East Pakistan. Likewise, on 16 December 1971, a separate country come into being with the name of Bangladesh, East Pakistan, while the West Pakistan renamed to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The first period of Benazir Bhutto and the relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh started getting better. Because of political instability in Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif couldn't complete their terms. So therefore, there's a problem between two countries. But in 1999, President of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, visited Bangladesh and tried to start a new age of relations between both the countries. So the conversion after removing the bitter memories of the past and resolving the mistake was also done. So now the relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh are better than before. There is no warmth in the relation which should be seen between two other Muslim countries. Some agreements about promotion of science, education, culture, and progress of agriculture are recently executed between Pakistan and Bangladesh. Egypt, the relationship between Pakistan and Egypt, the relations between Pakistan and Egypt went from different ages and finally reached to friendship and brotherhood. In 1960, President Jamal Abdel Nasser visit caused misunderstandings removal, and Ziaul Haq had role to establish Egypt as a member of Organization of Islamic Countries once again. On the Kashmir issue, Gulf War and Afghan problem in 1979, both the countries had some point of view. Not only the people of both the countries will get benefit, but also the unity of the Islamic world will be strengthened if the relations keep going on the same way on sacrifice and dedication basis. The relationship between Pakistan and Indonesia, according to an evaluation, currently there is a value of 80 million for the trade which is currently carried out between both countries. Pakistan provides Indonesia with rice, cotton, medical tools with Indonesia provide us tea, edible oil, etc. Pakistan instant export of mechanical tools, railway, bogies, and sugar cane to Indonesia, while we receive tires, steel, wires, and other tools of iron from Indonesia as an economic diplomacy. In 1971, after Bangladesh come into being, Pakistan interest decreased from Southeast Asian country. However, the friendly relation with Indonesia were not decreased. So there is enough harmony between both countries about international issues. The relationship between United Arab Emirates and Pakistan. So this relation between Pakistan and United Arab Emirates are present in past ages. United Arab Emirates has established numerous organizations in Pakistan, for example, Ura oil refinery, dairy farming, and 320 megawatt power plant, etc. The United Arab Emirates play an important role for decreasing inequality with India. So United Arab Emirates is playing an important role in the economical progress of Pakistan. The Pakistan relationship with the Central Asian Muslim states. As we know that 6 Central Asian Muslim states are respectively Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Azerbaijan. The mutual cooperation of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and 9 Central Asian Muslim states has splendid results. The economical and military cooperation and mutual cooperation, both the parties can rise with firm and stable condition at international level. Pakistan is the nearest and important neighbor country of 9 Central Asian Muslim states. This is why, first of all, Pakistan has played an important role, firstly for freedom and secondly for stability of these states. I will come to the conclusion. So the basic objective of Pakistan foreign policy is the security of Pakistan ideology, working for Islam, and building of brotherhood amongst the Muslim nation. So this is the basic objective of Pakistan foreign policy from 1947. Pakistan has always not only tried for building better relations with Muslim countries whenever there was some risk of controversy amongst Muslim countries, Pakistan also made every possible effort for reconciliation. Historically, Pakistan is part of Central Asia. Any political or geographical change which occurs in Asian Muslim countries and the countries of Central Asia affects Pakistan. Therefore, it is essential for Pakistan to build strong economical, social, and political relations with the countries of whole Asia, Central Asia, South Asia. Pakistan is not like a bridge between Muslim countries of Asia and Muslim countries of Central Asia, but it also has its impact and importance as a nuclear power in the world. This is why it is called the fort of Islam in the Muslim countries. Pakistan has played a key role from past to present in the unity and progress of Muslim countries. Pakistan has always played an important role for Muslim nation and their political, social, and economical progress, whether it is Muslim countries of the Central Asia or of Europe or Africa. It is why the exertion of Pakistan is seen and given importance to the nations of the world. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much, Professor Bakhtar. Well, indeed, the relations between Pakistan and Turkey is also very important. Those relations are dating back long before the Pakistan is founded, especially during the Turkish independence war. Our Pakistani brothers supported this struggle in Anatolia. And of course, he set forth a very important target. Pakistan is working in order to establish the brotherhood between the Muslim countries and at the same time the provision of reconciliation in the case of conflicts. And at the same time, in the field of defense industry, the relations between Turkey and Pakistan is really important because we are developing common policies, especially in the issue of Palestine. We know, how Pakistan is standing. And whenever there is an issue about the Islamic geography, the foreign policies of Turkey and Pakistan is overlapping and matching with each other. And Pakistan is, a very important actor in the Islamic geography and also in the Asian continent. Thank you so much for your presentation, Professor Vakar Padishah. I do believe you have to leave right now. Right?
Yes, I will leave in a while. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Let's say farewell to you. Let's go back to our Professor Ensar. We continued with Mr. Ensar, and he will deliver a speech about the new identity and new foreign policy. I would like to impatiently waiting to listen to his presentation. Thank you very much. Can you hear my voice? Yes, it is heard very clearly. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank this distinguished audience, Professor Adnan being in the first place, Mr. Ensar, and the valuable representatives of Assam. I would like to extend my gratitude and greetings to our colleagues. Well, Professor Yakup, you have increased the expectations about our speech. Well, my presentation will be comprised of three main pillars. And I would like to make a very simplified presentation. I will start speaking from the general issues and points, and I will later on touch upon to the specifics. When we say what are those three important pillars of my presentation, first I will take a look to the global environment, what is going on in the world, and then I'll take a look to the changes in the regional government and the great transformations that are taking place. Last but not least, I will take a look to the local environment. So in a nutshell, Turkey, and specifically, I'll take a look to Istanbul, because Istanbul is a very unique place. This uniqueness and exceptionalism of Istanbul also has certain unique functions. I will do my best to approach Istanbul from a different perspective. Well, valuable professor, we are observing one important reality. I mean, if we have to speak about the global environment, I have to say that we are going through historical times. Farid Zakaria, the author of The Post-American World, he says, and I quote, every 100 years, every 500 years, the transformations that are taking place are the historical transformations. So at the moment, the world is going through historical changes. I mean, this historical transformation is so important that we cannot compare it with the Second World War or with the end of the Cold War, or we cannot even compare and contrast it with the First World War. So this transformation can only be compared with the series of transformations starting and stretching all the ways from the times of the Renaissance. And let me explain this issue from the IR discourse. Today, not only the actors are changing. I mean, this change is not all about the fall of one superpower and the emergence of a new superpower. Or in another saying, this change is not only about the fall of the America as a superpower and it is being balanced by Russia, China, or Turkey. We have experienced such a thing during the Second World War. The Second World War was not a clash of civilizations. It was trying to balance the global power relations, and the Cold War was the celebration of a winning ideology. As a result, it was only the competition among different actors. So what I do believe that the most important war was the First World War, because the First World War was not only a war among the actors, but it was a war among the systems. It was not a war among the nation states only. It was also a war between and among the nation states and the empires. The First World War brought along the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the division of the whole Islamic geography and its annexation back to the global system. But before that, there was a huge struggle, which was a philosophical struggle. It was the struggle of the different world philosophies, and it has been initiated with the Renaissance. And the Islamic civilization was facing with the challenges of the liberalism and the scientific studies. And at the end of the First World War, unfortunately, Islam was tried to be marginalized from all the public spaces. So I do believe that this historical moment can be compared with the times before the First World War, because the crisis that we are in right now is not only a crisis of the actors. We are now speaking about a change in which the one superpower is falling and the other one is rising. This is all about a civilizational crisis. As a result, we are face to face with great historical splits. So I would like to make another observation and present another reflection to all those global analysis. And we take a closer look to the historical analysis. The relationship between East and West is not a symmetrical relationship, it's an asymmetrical one. So at the end of the day, the relations between the East and West has such a relationship, just like a seesaw. When the East is on the rise, the West declines. When the West is on the rise, the East is in decline. Just like the relationship between Japan and Germany, I mean, those powers can rise together, but the East and West has the seesaw relationship. One of them can be on the rise and the other one will fall. So what we witness today is not the collapse of the West. The West is falling, yes, but it's not collapsing. So as the West is going down, we will see that the balance will be established. So the West is falling, but the East is on the rise. And the previous speakers have mentioned very important topics. And they have stated that the center of power is shifting towards Asia-Pacific, but Asia-Pacific is not becoming a center of the power. It is only balancing it. So this balance concept should always be remembered by the social scientists in the future. Let me give you another example to this examples of relationships. As you know, when the European Union is founded, the unions started to collapse in the Middle East, while the Europe was integrated at the basis of nation states. Our civilization started to decline, and unfortunately Turks and Arabs all of a sudden became out of this civilization. I mean, there is one Arab nation with 22 states. This is such an extraordinary thing. This is not richness. I have to say, this is not a richness. And there is one more interesting thing. We have one nation. I mean, the Turks have one nation. But if we also count Cyprus, we have 7 states. So Europe is not only integrating the states, but they turn this integration of the civilization into a political project. And I would like to underline this very important word, political. And transatlantic coalition was formed, and then the European Union was born. Because in the integration of the Islamic countries, I don't think that the political will be at the epicenter. Yes, political will is really important, but social, historical, and spatial will be as important as the political will for the integration of the Islamic geography. In the West, this bottom-down approach of identity integration was present, but in Istanbul, this bottom-up approach of integration will be taking place, and in that regard, Istanbul will be at the epicenter. So the sociological features will define the political integration. This is very important. For the first time in the history of humanity, there is one exception. One civilization is going down and the other one is not rising. If we have to make a regional assessment for Turkey, we will realize that a similar scenario might be possible for Turkey. This is an advantage for Turkey, but also presents itself as a source of risk. Istanbul most probably is waiting for the Istanbul version 2 is expecting for actually a new spirit. During the first version, we have yielded the results with the Justice and Development Party. So I do believe that we are at the eve of a newborn. So let me put my academic hat aside So Adnan Pasha is with us, but I would like to give you the good news. I would like to give you the good news about this new formation, and this is the formation of Istanbul. So let me elaborate what I do mean by saying the formation of Istanbul. I have explained you the global environment, but when we have to speak about the regional environment, we see that there are divisions in the Middle East rather than reconstruction of the Middle East. Let's take a look to our neighborhood: Syria, Jordan, Libya, Lebanon, Yemen, Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Greece, Cyprus, East Mediterranean, Asian islands. All those geographies, all those regions are not facing a reconstruction, but they are at the eve of a further division. Well, there is still not any eve for the reconstruction. And I do believe that institutions like ASAM can play a very important role. So we do believe that those new technologies will be constructing and shaping the future. I mean, Turkey didn't only develop the manned aerial vehicle technology. I do believe that the future technologies will be constructed based on this technology that Turkey developed. And we can compare it with the cannons which closed one age and opened the new one during the Fatih the Conqueror. They are not weapons only. If you say them that they are weapons, it will be simplification. This is a brand new technology. Professor Yakup and distinguished audience, I do believe we have a much more important technology other than the manned aerial vehicles. When I say technology, this will be the technology belonging not only to the Turks, but to the whole region. And this new technology will be Istanbul as a location. Because I do believe, you know, in Arabic, Mekan, meaning location, if you add mim as a syllable, it means that it is the place where this thing is born. For example, we use madrab in Arabic language, and it is actually the instrument with which we are putting some pressure. Mechanic, on the other hand, in Arabic is actually meaning the core technology, which is giving birth to new technologies. So I do believe that I have to underline the importance of Istanbul location as a technology. And I have to underline that identity is really important for civilization. Identity is an instrument of soft power. But I don't want to bore you with the academic discourse. Identity is enabling us to connect with each other under the same grounds. And it is a source of motivation and psychological power which reconnects us. And on this point, I would like to make a small observation and continue with the next part. In Europe, the identities are political, and in the Islamic geography, they are social. So as a result, the dynamics are shifting from bottom to up here. Multi-identity is a political project because in Europe, people are suspicious about the foreigners, so the politics are used as a catalyst in order to integrate foreigners to the countries. But in our geography, the politics try to homogenize the societies. So the politics try to break the texture and fabric of the society. But geography is like Istanbul has presented a totally different ecosystem in which the identity is not shaped from up to down, but from bottom to up. That's why The identities of Istanbul, Ankara, and Damascus might be compared, and we can come up with interesting results. As a result, the political identity should be interpreted as the bearings of a brand new civilization. Let's go back to Istanbul so that I will magnify even more on our map. There is one special feature for Istanbul. Istanbul has always been said to be founded on 7 hills, and I always try to understand that. So Istanbul was founded on the 7 hills doesn't mean that there are 7 hills in Istanbul. Istanbul is representing 7 different climates. Istanbul, but it is comprised of 1,000 cities. I mean, there are so many civilizations in the world, and Istanbul is the place where they are meeting. Istanbul doesn't have any center. So each culture, each value can find something inside of Istanbul. This is the first feature of Istanbul. And Istanbul is not a one-dimension city. It is not only the greatest city, or it is not the greatest economic city. It is not the city of culture only. It is not the center of a religious sect, a language, or a textile center. Istanbul is not a technology center, but at the same time, Istanbul is all of them. Istanbul is a mechanical place which is reviving the spirit. Istanbul is just like mother and father to other cities. So Istanbul has served this function in the past, and I will say how Istanbul will be serving that purpose in the future, and then I will evaluate its reflections on the Turkish politics and in my speech. As you know, during the 1980s, there was a huge migration to Istanbul. So with this migration, people from Anatolia came to Istanbul for their salvations. So it was not a choice for them. Istanbul was actually a place for their economic salvation. From Bayburt, Rize, Trabzon, Erzurum, from Konya, from all around the Turkey, people migrated to Istanbul, and they have constructed the shanty towns and suburbs and slum houses. At the beginning, people thought that Istanbul will be lost, and all of a sudden, as of 1980s, Istanbul was started to be mentioned with its problems: the air pollution, the garbage problem, the pollutions, traffic, and etc. And then people in Istanbul developed. So this future of Istanbul, representing the 7 climate, has turned Istanbul into a cumulative point where all those features are being represented. So right now, there is one thing that I would like to say. Istanbul is at a brand new point. Istanbul is both receiving and giving migration to other cities. So Istanbul is receiving migration from other countries, and Istanbul is receiving migration from Iraq, from Balkans, from Libya, from Afghanistan, from Arabic states, from Yemen, even from Armenia, from Azerbaijan, from the Caucasus, and Istanbul is receiving migration from all around the world. So let's pay attention to this reality. After the 1980s, the negative criticisms are also articulated by the same stakeholders. So people are against the migration at the moment. But I do believe that this brand new identity is a candidate for establishing a new identity for the whole city. So we will be face to face with a brand new synthesis. So I do believe being a citizen of Istanbul will mean something else, and the city of Istanbul will be totally different. Syrians, Yemenis, Libyans, and Lebanese people will be the intellectual capital of this brand new identity. And all those capital, the financial capital, the intellectual capital, has started to be accumulated in Istanbul, and they are waiting for a suitable climate. As you know, together with the Justice and Development Party, the whole story of Turkey has changed. So I do believe within this brand new era, a brand new identity will come to the fore, and we will change the lap of the future